Okay, we started Access last time. We're going to hopefully finish up that project number 1. Basically, an introduction to this whole thing about databases. Remember, you live in the age of information. Taking raw data, finding meaning in it, is what it's all about. And searching through data, querying the data is the term they use in databases, will help you pull out the information that makes it useful. So by having a little bit of knowledge about databases, and especially this, I'll call it the junior database program, will enable you to understand why collecting data, learning where to get it, importing into a database, and then putting it into tables. Forms and reports, though, help us to visualize or enter data properly. The reports help us to see what's in the data. Forms help us to enter and also search through the data. So let's go to our database and see what we have first. Review what we have. I'm going to my previous database, AC1, made by J Smart. And let's enable the content. If you ever see this, go ahead and enable the content. If my navigation pane is minimized, I can click up there and open it up, and I see that my database has 2 tables in it, owners and patients. And if I click on a table or double click on a table, it opens it, showing me the data inside that table. It looks a lot like an Excel spreadsheet, but it's a very special kind of spreadsheet. It's a table that every column has a name up in the gray. It's like only the tables can be put only the table data can be kept in Access tables. In Excel, we can make tables and then put other things. In Access, it looks like Excel table, and that's what it can only be. Columns always have to have a name. If you don't give it a name, Access will give it a name like Field 1, Field 2. And each table, column, there's only certain data that can go in that column. How do I know what data can go in that column? Well, the best way to view that is Design View. Click on Design View, and I can see that column 1, owner ID, has data type of short text, and I put a little comment, it's a unique identifier. Another way I can tell that it's special is this little key next to it. It is the primary key of my table. Every table, for Access to work the best, needs a primary key. Now we have short text is the type of data in all our columns, and each one has a specified field size. That's just to make our database more efficient. I can use my arrow key to go through each field and see the field size down there in the property. As I use my arrow key, I see field size changing. That's just a way to make sure that certain fields I can only type like 2 characters in state. Home phone, I can't type more than 25 characters. That's just to make our database a little more efficient, so it's not all making room for 255 characters in every column. I can go back to Datasheet View, clicking up here, to see the data that I have entered, and every row in a database table is called a record. The record of the first owner, the record of the second owner. Okay, so we've got the various tables created, and now we're going to create or get familiar with the other things that we can do with tables. Let's make sure we have all our information in here. I think we have a few extra tables we're going to be adding to our database. We've created 2 tables ourselves, but we're going to go get data from other places. So we don't have to do all the creation of our tables ourselves. So let's close the owners table if you have it open. It's always good to close things once you're done using them, because if Access has too many things open, it will complain when it's trying to do something else. It'll say, sorry, there is an object open that I can't do anything else with, so please close it first. So it's always good, close our tables after we see the data. Now before we go get our tables, we have to go get the data files that go with our tables. So let's get logged in here. I'm going to go log into Schoology here. Thank you, Firefox. Go over to Schoology and log in as JSmart. So log into Schoology if you're not already in there. We need to get some data files that go with this project. It's down here in the syllabus. And in the syllabus, if you click on the syllabus, there's the student companion or the data files. Let's go to the data files link. And modules 0 to 3 Excel file is the one we want to download. I have it in a Google Drive. It's also available from the books companion site, but here's the data files that we need for this project. So I click on that, or I right click on that, and I download that. So it is the access file there in the student data files, which I got by clicking right there on assignment data files in the syllabus. Right click on that access file and download. And it's asking me where to save it. I am putting it in my cs101 folder. If you do not get the pop-up asking you where to save it, that means it's over in your downloads folder. I'm going to click save. And now I need to go open that file up so Access can use what's in it. So I'm bringing up my file browser now. And I'm going to browse over to where I just downloaded that file. So I'm in my browser. I go to my location where I have saved it. And where is it? There it is. There is the 97080 Access Intro Modules 1 to 3. It is a zip file. I can tell by first I can see here it's a compressed zip there. I can see the little zipper on the folder. I'm going to right click, extract all. And this pops up. I'll go ahead and let it show the contents when complete. So I can now click extract. And up pops the window showing me the contents. There are 3 folders inside of there. I want the module 01 data. Let's see what we have inside of there. And there I see 4 access files. And we're going to be using that one called Vets Extra Tables. Remember, Access cannot view this until I have extracted everything from that zip file. If I double click on that zip file, it'll act as though I'm inside of there, but Access can't get inside of this zip file to actually view it. I need to extract that for Access to be able to use it. So now that it's extracted, I see the files here in a file browser. I can browse over to where the files are. Now I'm going to go back to Access to go use that particular folder or that particular file. So that's a little complicated what I just did. I went to the companion files, I went to the assignment data files, I downloaded it, I extracted it, and then I got to see that yes, indeed, the files are there. Now I'm going back to Access. And inside of Access, we're going to go to External Data. We're going to get a new data source from database Access. So after I've extracted it, I'm now going to open that and now browse to where I have just downloaded and extracted that Excel or that Access database. And I'm going to be importing tables from that other database. So now I'm browsing over to where I just downloaded and extracted in my documents folder over here on the special drive where I've saved it. And there is Module 3, Module 1 data. There is the file that has my extra tables. Double click, and now click OK. And there I have 3 tables that it found inside that extra database. I'm going to do a select all and click OK, selecting all the tables that are there. And I don't need to save any import steps. I'm going to close. And look at that, 3 more tables now appear in my database. So I don't have to go design and type in data. I can just import data from another database. So we've already entered ourselves, owners and patients, but now I have entered appointments, treatment costs, and veterinarians. And I'm going to do that one more time just to show how that's done. I'm going to go and delete the tables and redo all this. Just to show you how easy it is. I go to external data, new data source, from an access database, or from database access. Browse to where that file is. It already remembers where I had browsed to before. Select that, open it, choose all the tables that are there, and OK. Don't need to save the import steps, and there's my tables. Now that I have those tables in my database, I can now do something with them. First thing I'm going to do is explore. But before I do this, I'm going to come and, well, first of all, I want to make sure I'm recording. Now we can look inside those tables that we imported. How do we look inside a table? Just double click on it, and I see appointments for multiple patients, time, or date and time, a treatment that they're going to be getting, and the veterinarian that's doing it, and the owner. So this appointment table brings together data from a lot of the tables. It's related to a lot of the tables. The patient table, the treatment table, and the veterinarian table, and the owner table. So this appointments table is like central to all our other information. I'm going to close the appointments table. Let's take a look at the treatment cost table. This shows me different treatments, the name of the treatment, and what type of animal it's for. Veterinarians, I see 2 veterinarians listed. Now if I'm ever curious about, how did they design that table, let's just for fun, let's go to the Home tab and let's click Data Design View of that, and I see that they have multiple columns. Oh, they use long text for email, otherwise it's short text for everything. Let's look at the treatment costs. Let's right click Design View, take us right to Design View, and I see that 3 things are short text. Ooh, when I'm dealing with money, we make that a currency data type. So just by exploring what they've done and we've imported, we can learn a little bit about, oh look, appointment date is a date time data type. Oh, an appointment ID is automatically numbered. So there's one chance where they use the auto number data type. Now you don't have to worry about knowing why they did all this. That's for the database designer portion of it. But they kindly put sort of helpful descriptions here on what each column in that table is meant to be. Our task is, now that we have this information in our database, just to learn a little bit of how we can manipulate it. So brought in 3 extra tables now, and now let's see what more we can do with Access. We built 2 of our own tables and imported 3 other tables from another project. Now that we have all those tables in there, let's do 2 more things with this data, and then I think we're almost done with this first project. One of the first things that we want to do, and this is the key to why databases are useful at all, is we're going to create a thing called a query. And let's figure out first we'll build a query, and then we'll think of what it's, and as we build it, we'll learn what it does for us. So I go to the Create tab, and here we have two ways to build a query. We can use the wizard, or we can use the query designer. In the next project, project 2, we're going to be doing our own query design. But for a start, let's use our query wizard just to see what it does to help us build a thing called a query. So click on Query Wizard, and what we have here is a helper to build a way to extract information from our multiple tables of data. We're going to use a simple query wizard, so I click on OK. And now I decide what fields do I want to query from the data that I have. A query means I want to list information that I have in my tables. Well, I care about the table called owners right now, so let's switch to the owner table by choosing the owner table. It shows me all the fields in the owner table. This is telling me I get to select what information in the owners table I want to view or I want to list. Well, I would like to list the owner's first, last name, and city or street, city, and state and zip code. So I want to get their address information. Well, owner ID is not useful for that, so I don't need that. I click on owner first name, and I can click on the single little arrow, means send that over to fields that are now selected to be listed. Another way to do that is just double click on each field that I want to add to my selected fields. So I want to have the selected fields be owner, first name, last name, street, city, state, and zip code. If I mess up and I did it wrong, I can click the double arrow here and start over. Double click first name, double click last name, street, city, state, zip code. In that order. So what the query wizard is saying to me is I will choose from the owner's table information to be selected from the owner's table, and these are the selected fields that we will be selecting from the owner's table. Now let's click next and see what other choices we have. Oh, I can give a title, and let's see, yeah, we're going to stick with the owner's query, and let's now click finish and see what that has done for us. I click finish, and now look, I see just those 5 columns that I asked to be listed in my query. If I look at the original owners table, I see all of their information listed, but the owner's query only lists those selected fields that I asked the wizard to select for me. And I can close that, and if I ever want to see those columns again, I can just open that query and view those columns. I can adjust my column width just so I can be able to see everything. And there I have the information selected from that table. I'm going to go do that again because this is all pretty new. I'm going to save the changes because I adjusted my columns. And I'm going to do that one more time. Query wizard, simple query. Choose what table I want to get information out of. I'll say my owner's table. Choose the fields that I want to have listed. First name, last name, street, city, state, by just double clicking. Next, and it's adding a 1 to my query just because it sees one already named owner's query. And you can't, if you try to save it the same name, I don't think it'll be happy. I finish, and there I see that information listed. So this is what a query does for it. It extracts information in a particular order that I request it. Now just because I'm kind of a nerd and I want to show you how this works, if I go to the design view of my query, I can view the design view, and it puts me in this little window showing me here's my table, here's the columns I have selected from that table to be displayed. You're going to learn how to do this yourself. But let me also show you one more thing here. This is the nerdiest part of it. In a thing called SQL View, let's just take a look at this. I'm going to copy that. Actually, I think that's readable to you. It's pretty readable. This is the language of databases that Access is doing for you. Back before Access was around, people that worked with database had to learn this language of how to get data out of tables. And how would you like to learn this language of select parameter, comma, and then from the name of a table? This is what we call SQL query language, and if it seems somewhat interesting to you and doesn't seem that hard, you can actually become a database analyst, and since databases are everywhere out there in the information age, out on the internet, you can make good money learning how to manipulate databases, and you get deeper into this database language. That's just a little peek at what the database programmers do. They learn this language and do really complex queries to get information out of databases. You don't have to worry about learning this because Access has given you a somewhat friendly way to build queries. You don't have to learn that language. You can use sort of a somewhat user-friendly designer, or like what you just did, we use our query wizard to help us select data to be displayed from a table. So I'm going to delete that second one because I don't need two copies of the same query. Okay, so we built an owner's query. That is what a query does. It selects data from our table based on our design of the query. And I think they only have us build one. Let's see here. Yeah, we use the query. Now that we've taken a peek at queries, let's take a look at something else that we can do with databases. We can view data, but we can also view data in a much more friendly way by creating a thing we call a form. A form is a way to view data in a nice, friendly way, and you can do it with just a few clicks. Watch how I can create a form to display my owners. I select the owners table, and then I come to Create tab, and I simply click Form. And without asking me, going through a wizard or anything, it creates a form that lets me view in a slightly more expanded way the information about each owner in my owners table. And now, after we've created the form, let's click on View, and let's view it as a form view, not as layout view. And I have my first owner listed in a expanded, I'd say sort of slightly more user-friendly way, with each of his columns displayed with a title or a label next to it and a way to edit that data. And down at the bottom, you'll see this tiny little navigation bar. I can use my next record arrow to go to the next owner. And I can go to the next to add a new owner if I would like to edit and add additional owners. This is what data entry people generally see when they are given the job of updating or entering data into the system database. They are presented with a form for entering the data. It's slightly more friendly than viewing the owner's table and entering the data one row at a time in a Excel looking table. This is not quite as user friendly as this, although this is very efficient because I have everything listed and I'm used to using Excel tables and reading through all my owner's information. A form is a way of viewing that data one row at a time. And the cool thing about this is if I actually had an image of my owner, it would be hard to see that here. Actually, it would show you that there's a link to an image if I had an image to go with each owner. In the owner form, I could actually have a picture of my owner as I browse through each owner's record, each record of each owner. So the form is a user-friendly way of viewing the data. And I can close that form, saving any changes, yes. And now I have saved as a owner's form, and I can close my owner's table. Now I have a object of type form that views my owner's table information. Double click on that, and I can see the data in that table, navigate one record at a time. So that is the form for viewing data in a friendly way. And let me go through creating a form again. It's the 3-click method. Choose the table. Let's create a form on our patients table. By clicking the patients table, create form. And now I have a page. I'm going to view it in form view just because that's the more friendlier view. And I can now navigate through each patient the same way. A form displaying one at a time, a page for each patient. And again, if I had a picture of my patient, the form could show me the picture of my patient, where just viewing the raw data in my patients, it's not quite as friendly. And if I had a picture, it would just say, here's the file name, and wouldn't show me the picture. If I had a picture in my patient, I could have that viewed in the form view. So 3 clicks, and if I go to close it, that's when it'll ask me, oh, you just made a form. Would you like to save that? And I can say yes, and I can save that as patients. And now I have a patients form for viewing the patient's information one record at a time with my navigator letting me go page forward one patient at a time. A lot of wasted space on the form, where the patients table, much more efficient use of space. I can see everything in one data sheet. But as I build more information up, like have a record of all their treatments, a picture of the patient, maybe a picture of the veterinarian or the owner, I could do that on the form where I wouldn't be able to see that in the by just looking at the raw data. So form, user-friendly way of viewing the data. Let's do one more time. Let's do a form for the veterinarian's table. 3-click. Click on the table that I want to create a form for. Click on create and click on form. And there I have one at a time viewing a page for each veterinarian. This is a little more useful or a little more detailed. It shows me, because there are many fields, it split them into 2 columns of data. Now you could learn about designing your own forms and making some cool user interfaces. You don't have to do that in this course, but that is something we do in the advanced course, learning how to actually design nicely viewable forms so it would almost look like a web page. And that's essentially what you're doing. When you go to a web page, you're logging in, they're displaying a form to you of your login page. Here's your profile, here's all your messages. They're essentially accessing the database behind that system when you're going onto a website that has your login information. Okay, so we've looked at tables, queries to view data, selected data from our tables, and forms for a user-friendly way of viewing the data. There's one more thing we want to create for this database, is a way to extract useful information for showing to others. Let's see what else we have on the Create tab. We have tables that we can create, queries we can create, forms, and reports. Let's see how easy it is to create a report for a particular table. We're going to use the report wizard first, and then we'll go the easy way to use something slightly different. Let's start the report wizard and see what is available to us. Let's explore using the report wizard. So I go to the Create tab, Click on Report Wizard. And up pops, similar to my query wizard, of what table would you like a report? Which fields do you want on your report? Well, let's see what table they would like us to do. We would like to choose what table we want? We would like to choose the owners table. So I select table, owners. I'm going to create a report of data that's in the owners table. So a report right now is going to be very similar to a query, but we'll see how it changes later. See how we're now choosing what fields would we like in our report, and we're doing the same fields as we had in our query. I'm going to do the owner first name, owner last name, double click, owner street, double click, city, double click, and state, and no zip code. It looks like we're skipping the zip code. And actually, they're even skipping the state. Oh, if I don't want state, I can select state and send it back. So only the 4 fields. Yep. In the book, they only want, in the example they gave, they only want first, last name, street, and city. It would make more sense to me to have city, state, but that's what they ask for in the book. Now we click next to say, okay, just like I have that information coming from my owners table, what's my next choice in my report wizard? Well, I can decide, how do I want to group the information together on the report? We're not going to worry about any grouping, so we'll go to the next page. Do I want them sorted in any way? Well, no, we'll leave it unsorted. We'll just list them in the order that they were entered in the table. And then next, and I can decide what kind of layout for the table. And I'm seeing something different. I'm seeing stepped block outline. Oh, let me go back here. My stuff shows the wrong choice here. Let's go back. In the book, they choose. Oh, they do order it by state. Oh, I missed something. In the book example, let's go back one step. They wanted the data. Let me go back to where they state next. And let's see, next page. Yes, we want the data grouped by city. So I click city, and now I click the single arrow. Now I'm going to be listing city and then what owners are in that city. Oh, sorry. State. Oh, wait a minute. They came back and they decided to add state. Oh, what did it get put there? Can I move that? Oh, it won't let me move it. Oh, let me start over here. First name, last name. Street, city, state. Street, city, state. They initially didn't put state, and then the next page they did have state. Now I can go forward. Remember in the wizard, you can always go all the way back until you hit finish. You can go back to the start of your wizard order. So first name, last name, street, city, state. Now here I want to group them by state. So I click state and I'm going to add a grouping level. Now all my owners are going to be grouped by state in the report. Now because I add a grouping, this page now is going to look different. We'll go ahead and we're not going to worry about any sorting. Now I see a different choice of layout. Because I had a grouping, now I have a different type of layout I can choose from, and we're going to choose the stepped layout and portrait. And now let's click next, and I'm going to now do finish. I'm going to leave it with the name. Oh, they decided to give it the name Owner's Report. Even though I will be able to tell it's a report because it will be grouped as in the report section, we'll add report to the name of the object. Now I click finish, and I have a report of my owners. Notice the state is listed first. If there were multiple owners in the same state, they would be listed here with the Colorado state. And here's my report down here. So a report is similar to a query, but it displays the data in a nice printable, pretty format with alternating colors of my owners. Let's do that again, just for practice. Create report wizard. Let's choose. Yeah, let's go with. We'll do the owners thing again, just to practice on that. Owners. I choose what fields to show in my report. I'm gonna go first name, last name, street, city, state, and let's add the home phone to that. Next, I'm going to group by state again. Next, and let's sort them by owner last name. It's not going to be terribly useful because there's only one owner in each state. I'll go with the stepped and portrait, and I'll call that owner's report 2. And finish. Now the sorting wasn't useful at all because there's only one owner in each state. Let's see how it added the home phone number, and because it got a little wider, it's not fitting on one page. It makes it pretty bad. If I went to adjust this, I can actually adjust the column widths of things to make it all show up on one page. But see how my column names are kind of getting cut off? The wizard isn't always the smartest in how it creates our report. And I can close my print preview, and now in my report I can mess with things. Don't worry about editing the report. We just going to use the 3-click method to create reports from now on. Right now we use the wizard. Let me show you the 3-click method way of creating a report. I'm going to close this report, and now let's show the 3-click method of creating a report. How about a report on our, we have owners. Let's do a report on our patients. 3-click method this time. Choose my patients table, choose create, and choose report. There is the 3-click method. It throws us into a different view of that. Let's just go to print preview of my patients report, and there's my patients report. Not terribly pretty, but a 3-click method to create a report. Let's do that again, the 3-click method. I'm not going to save this the first time. Choose a table, choose create, and choose report. There I have a report. Kind of ugly looking. I can adjust things to make it fit on one page. And now I have a report. Don't worry about having to adjust the report. You can just use the 3-click method and you've got a report. If I go to close it, it'll ask me, do I want to save it? And I'll say yes. And okay. Now we'll be learning more in the next project about the queries. Reports and forms are extras, ways of viewing the data, one record at a time, nice friendly way. We're going to be spending more time on the query because that's where you can extract information like what appointments do we have today as I come into work. That's a type of query we're going to be building on the next project. So, quick intro to Access. You have learned how to edit and import data. Tables are the foundation of databases, which are organizing our data into related tables. That's why it's called a relational database. I can view all the information in my tables just by clicking on them. I can edit the information in my tables. I can edit the design of my tables by right-clicking Design View. I can add and remove columns, change the data type in columns. Queries are the powerful way of extracting particular data from tables or multiple tables. Forms and reports for entering in a user-friendly way or for displaying in a user-friendly or a printer-friendly way information that has been stored or extracted by a query. I can actually do a report from information that a query gives me. So there we have it. our first project in Access, you can save or you can close and upload, and you are done with your first database project. So close Access, upload it to Schoology, and have a wonderful day. And I will upload this recording in case